News 14 Carolina Meteorologist Matthew East here in the Weather on the One's Forecast Center. This is your Friday edition of the Carolina weather video, and we'll start off in the tropics discussing Danny, which is really in a weakened state this morning. There's the overview from the National Hurricane Center, and there's Danny. It's 5 a.m. Actually, this is the 2 a.m. position, but I'll show you the 5 a.m. track here in just a moment. And way on the eastern Atlantic Ocean, we're watching another very strong tropical wave that stands a pretty good shot of becoming a classified tropical system at some point over the next few days. All right, here's Danny. This is the infrared satellite imagery, and the center of Danny is right in this area here, right on the southwestern edge of that deep convection. And here's what's steering Danny now. This is the water vapor imagery, and we've had a big upper-level low sitting over the lower Mississippi Valley for several days. That's now lifting northeast. That is helping now to turn Danny off to the north. And again, the Danny not looking terribly healthy at the time I'm cutting this video. The center has been completely exposed for much of the night. Recently there's been a little flare-up of some showers and storms closer to that low-level center, but certainly Danny not a very healthy-looking tropical storm at all. That is the National Hurricane Center forecast track as of the 5 a.m. advisory today, and there probably will not be a lot of change with this forecast track as the models are pretty much in good agreement with where Danny's going to be headed. And the center should stay east of the Outer Banks. Just to be on the safe side, the Hurricane Center has placed the Outer Banks of North Carolina in a tropical storm watch, just in case there's some fluctuation in the track off to the west, or if we can see Danny develop stronger winds there on the western side of the storm. But this has really been a lopsided storm with the convection to the east of it pretty much its entire life. Let me show you the Canadian model. This is the regional Canadian model. It's still one of the strongest with Danny, and this will probably be a scenario where as Danny begins to lose its tropical characteristics, it's actually going to get stronger as it heads up to the higher latitudes. So it'll be a more significant system probably for the New England states than what it'll be for the North Carolina Outer Banks. But I noticed some very heavy rain breaking out on the regional Canadian model as we get on into early tomorrow, as Danny wraps on up the coast. And this will be a wind-driven rain for much of the coastal parts of New England as this wraps up and lifts up the coast. But for the Outer Banks, I think we're looking at a situation where, sure, later today, especially tonight and tomorrow morning, there could be a little bit of rainy, squally weather. But at the moment, it does not look like a huge deal. Danny is a very weak tropical storm. So if you have beach plans, go for it. Just be aware there's going to be some heavy surf, some rip currents. Now, with that said, if things were to all of a sudden align correctly for there to be explosive deepening, it'd be a different story. But I just don't think that's going to happen. Danny looks pretty sickly, and I think it's going to be a relatively minor system for North Carolina. It could be more significant farther north, but at least as far as North Carolina and the Outer Banks are concerned, in terms of tropical systems we've experienced, this one's going to be pretty low down on the scale, it appears. Already watching for our next system. This is a look at the Atlantic Basin, and that is our next tropical disturbance out there in the Atlantic Ocean. The computer track guidance here, the computer model track guidance, generally off to the west-northwest. Just a couple of the select computer models here. This is looking out to next week. That's the GFDL, which has this northeast of the Caribbean islands. And this is a look at the Canadian model, and that is our tropical disturbance right there. This is valid, let's see if I can get the days right. This will be valid next Wednesday evening, as we have what would be our next classified tropical system northeast of the Caribbean islands, and it actually begins to develop another one back toward the Cape Verdes behind it. And finally here, the GFS, much the same as the Canadian. There's our tropical disturbance trying to develop into our next classified tropical system. So let's take you through some of the modeling here closer to home. This is off the NAM, and this is the precip through this afternoon. For us, we're going to have the chance for showers, some embedded thunderstorms at times today, and because of the cloud cover and the increased rain chances, it's not going to be as hot. Highs in the low to mid-80s. And we have some interesting weather coming up, so hang on. Next week's going to be interesting. As we go on through tonight, there goes Danny, off the coast. Sure, rainy, squally weather, definitely a possibility for the Outer Banks tonight into early tomorrow. But we're not talking anything terrible, but sure, some breezy, rainy conditions, maybe some wind gusts in excess of tropical storm force, maybe upwards of 40, 50 miles per hour if Danny really wraps itself up. For us, the shower chances diminished tonight, and then tomorrow I think we're looking at just the chance of a couple of isolated showers or storms across the Piedmont of North Carolina. A little more sunshine tomorrow, so a little hotter, probably upper 80s for a lot of our highs tomorrow. Then our front actually moves through Sunday, so there could be a few showers and thunderstorms Sunday with the frontal passage. And then we get one of our Carolina wedges set up as we get into next work week. This is a look at Monday. And I notice that high pressure wedging down the eastern side of the mountains. At the same time, we have moisture lifting up and over that wedge. So Monday and Tuesday look quite cool. In fact, it looks like rain at times, both Monday and again there on Tuesday. And it's going to be cool, certainly. I think we may see highs struggling to make 70 degrees on Monday and Tuesday afternoon. So we could have some 60s for highs in some Piedmont locations as we get into Monday and Tuesday of next week as that cold air damming scenario unfolds. Now, later on in the week, the moisture decreases, so a little more sunshine. We'll probably see highs bouncing back up toward the lower 80s for the second half of next work week, and maybe some low temperatures in the upper 50s there by the latter stages of next work week as we lose the cloud cover that'll be with us to start the week. So, certainly some autumn-like temperatures coming with that cold air damming scenario for next week. Looks like it'll be much, much cooler by Monday and Tuesday. All right, that is it for today's edition of the Carolina Weather Video. Let me reiterate, if you have beach plans to the Outer Banks, you need to keep track of Danny, and just in case we see some type of rapid intensification. I doubt it's going to happen, but you need to keep track of it just in case. And, of course, we'll have tropical updates for you on News 14 Carolina at 21 minutes and 51 minutes past every hour. All right, everyone have a great weekend. Next edition of the Carolina Weather Video should be bright and early on Monday morning. Have a great weekend, and God bless.